Welcome back to OT Sports. Today we got our Big Ten Conference Tournament predictions. This and the SEC are the two most popular conferences in all of college basketball. We're doing the SEC right after this one, so make sure you go check this out. And along with that, this is, I believe, the 28th Conference Tournament prediction video we have. So that means there's 27 other videos that you could go check out if you're interested in any of them. The Power 6 is almost done besides the SEC. We're doing it after this, like I already said. If you're new around here, we don't only do college basketball. We do college football, NFL, NBA, and MLB. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, make sure you go down there, hit the subscribe button. We're almost at 100 subscribers. Thank you guys for the support recently. Make sure you turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss when we upload any of our videos. Like this video if you enjoy. Comment down below your predictions for this Big Ten tournament. But with all that being said, let's get right into this bracket. Discord X, linked in the description. Join that, follow that. But, like I said, we're going to get right into this bracket. So the 12-seeded Maryland Terrapins taking on the Scarlet Knights in this 12-13 matchup. And this is a prime defensive battle. So if you like defensive basketball, go over and check this game out. Two top 15 defenses in the country colliding here in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. So I guess this is kind of an interesting little game. Usually you don't see that with 12-13 seeded, matchups in conference tournament. But this conference is, all these teams are solid besides one. We'll get to that team in a second. And I think every single team besides Michigan, I think, has the what it takes to win a game or two in this tournament. So yeah, this is going to be a very interesting prediction. So Maryland and Rutgers, like I said, two heavyweight defenses colliding. The reason I'm going to go with the Terrapins is, one, first of all, I was very high on them start going into the season. I believe I had them ranked inside the top 15 at one point to start off the year. That was a stretch. I had them finishing third in the Big Ten. Was not right about that at all. But they have a much better offense than Rutgers does. They're not as extreme, and their defense is pretty close to Rutgers. They have the 12th ranked defense compared to Rutgers' 4th, but 150 offense compared to Rutgers, barely inside the top 300. So I'll go ahead and take Maryland. They're the more complete, well-rounded team. 11-seeded Penn State and 14-seeded Michigan. Now, Michigan, just a terrible season. They're by far the worst team in the Big Ten. Struggled the entire year, disappointing. I don't know what's going on there, but 8-23 is not what you want to see. Now, they are the only team in the Big Ten outside of the top 100 in KenPom efficiency rankings. That sucks. Penn State is one of those teams that can upset you in the Big Ten if you're kind of sleepwalking in. They're kind of just one of those sneaky teams. They're solid, but nothing too crazy. I'll go ahead and take them. They're capable of beating Michigan. I think Michigan is by far the worst team in this conference. And that's not, you could call it being biased. I am an Ohio State fan, but it is, they are the worst team in this conference, this season at least. So the 8-seeded Michigan State Spartans take on the 9-seeded Minnesota Golden Gophers. Now, Michigan State was supposed to be a top 5 team this season. I had them finishing second in the Big Ten. They were ranked in the AP Top 25 preseason poll at 4. They have not lived up to that at all. Now, they still have a very solid team, high potential. Tom Izzo is one of those coaches where if all he needs to do is get into the tournament and they will compete. They're still the third highest ranked KenPom team in this conference at 18-13. They got a top 10 defense and a top 60 offense. I think that should be enough for them to beat Minnesota, but if they end up losing this game against Minnesota, they might be in risk of not making the tournament. Now, they've been comfortably in a lot of bracketologies for the past 2 months, but they've been dropping a couple games they probably shouldn't have dropped. They just lost to Indiana, which I think if they would have won that, they would have ensured they would make the tournament. But now, if they lose against Minnesota here, they might be in trouble now. I think this is a pretty favorable matchup for them. But, if they do end up losing, we might see the Spartans miss the tournament, as crazy as it is to say. But I think they win over Minnesota and move on to the quarterfinals. 5-seeded Wisconsin taking on 12-seeded Maryland. Wisconsin, what a fall from grace. Ranked 6th in the country. I believe they were 16-4. Now they are 19-12. They've lost they've won 3 of their last 11 games, so lost 8 of their last 11. They're still the 4th highest ranked KenPom team. I'll go with them to beat Maryland. Wisconsin will make the tournament, but no matter what. But if they are to get in as any seed higher than a 7, I honestly don't know if I will pick them to win in the first round. They have just been very cold recently. So I'll take Wisconsin to move on here. But, they're not a team I'm all that high on like some other people are. They've just been terrible recently. 7-seeded Iowa taking on 10-seeded Ohio State. So this is an interesting one because both these teams all of the sudden kind of came out of nowhere. They're both, I don't want to say bubble teams, but they're both close to bubble teams. I think if either of them were to make the Big Ten final, they don't even have to win, in my opinion. If they get there, I think both of them could get in, potentially. Yeah, like I said, both these teams just have had a late surge. Ohio State, after firing their coach, have won, I believe, 5 of their last 7. I don't know if that's correct, but they are one of the higher teams in the Big Ten. They're actually the 7th highest ranked team in KenPom. Iowa is just behind them, though. Now, Iowa is kind of the opposite of Maryland. Almost the exact opposite. Top 15 offense, but just barely top 150 in defense. I think Ohio State is more well-rounded. They got a top 40 offense, top 70 defense. I'll go ahead and take the Buckeyes. They've been very impressive as of late. I think they can beat Iowa, but that's going to be a tough game in the quarterfinals against Illinois. 6-seeded Indiana taking on 11-seeded Penn State. Similar to Iowa and Ohio State, Indiana, I believe, is on a 4-game win streak. They've made a late surge, a late push for the tournament. But they've got some injuries going on, so that does concern me with how far they can get in this tournament. They do need, in my opinion, same boat as Iowa and Ohio State. I think they need to make the championship game. They don't necessarily need to win it, but I think they need to make it there to ensure that they get in. And I wouldn't even call them a lock to get in if they make it there. That's just to give them a chance to get in. I do think they can beat Penn State. It's hard to beat a team 3 times. I know Penn State has beaten Indiana twice this season. I don't think they would beat them again. Kello Ware is very talented. Trey Galloway, he has been hurt. I think he'll be okay to play in this game. If he's not, they could be in trouble. But I'll go ahead and take the Hoosiers. Back up to the top, 1-seeded Purdue taking on 8-seeded Michigan State. And to be honest with you, this might be Purdue's hardest game of this entire Big Ten tournament. In my opinion, Purdue has been heads and shoulders above the rest of this conference the entire season. But Michigan State is just one of those teams that in March they turn it on. And that's because of their coach, Tom Izzo. But they have a very talented roster, too. Tyson Walker, A.J. Hogard. They got their whole team from last year pretty much. And last year they made the Sweet 16 as a 7 seed. I think they have what it takes to do it. At this point, I think if they beat Minnesota, they'll get in. I don't think this would be a necessary win for them. So I'll go ahead and take Purdue. I think they're just overall better. They're, I believe, 2nd in KenPom in the country. No, they're actually 3rd. They're behind UConn now, but the best offense in the country, top 20 defense. They're just an elite team. I'll take them over Michigan State. I don't think, Michigan State got a top 10 defense. I don't know. I don't think Michigan State will be able to score enough here, and I don't see a world where they stop Zach Edey. I'll go ahead and take the Boilermakers. 4-seeded Northwestern taking on 5-seeded Wisconsin. Now, this is 2 teams that I'm not high on at all. I'll go ahead and take Wisconsin just because I think they're a little bit better. They're higher in KenPom. They will have won the previous day. Maybe they carry that momentum in. I don't know. I'm not too high on either of these teams. I'll take the Badgers, I guess. 2-seeded Illinois taking on 10-seeded Ohio State. Now, this is one that made me think a little bit, and you might just call me biased, but I did settle on Illinois. I'm not going to go that far, but I think Ohio State, if they can get past this game, I think they can get to the Big Ten championship game. Now, they have been hot recently. I just don't see that they can keep up with Illinois' offense. Illinois 4th overall in offense in the country, 74th in defense, though. That does question, at least to me, how far they can get in the actual tournament. Ultimately, what it came down to was that Ohio State has a very similar defensive efficiency to Illinois, but they're about 35 spots below them in offense. So I got to go with Illinois, but I did consider Ohio State here. 3-seeded Nebraska taking on 6-seeded Indiana. Now, Indiana is a little bit banged up, but this Nebraska team, I'm telling you right now, this team is poised to make a run in the tournament. They're probably the best three-point shooting team in the country. They are a really good team. 22-9, 42nd in offense, 26th in defense, but they're kind of similar to BYU, where I honestly might like them. I don't know if I would say I like them better than BYU, but they're up there. I mean, top 30 defense, just outside the top 40 in offense. They're a well-rounded team, and if they get hot, they're one of the hardest teams to beat. I'll take the Cornhuskers to win this one. They should be comfortably in the tournament, though, no matter what happens. 1-seeded Purdue taking on 5-seeded Wisconsin. Purdue's beat them twice already. I think they'll beat them a third time. It is hard to beat a team 3 times, but like I said, Wisconsin's been struggling recently, and Purdue is just on a whole different level. I'll take, Zach Edey and all the guys. Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, Lance Jones. I mean, they just have a stacked team. So I'll go ahead and take Purdue. And then 2-seeded Illinois taking on 3-seeded Nebraska. This will be a phenomenal game, especially if Nebraska is on, because if they are hot, there's not many teams that could keep up with them just because of the way they shoot the three-point shot. Illinois is one of those teams, though, that could keep up with them offensively. Terrence Shannon Jr., Marcus Damask, they got a loaded squad. What it came down to, Nebraska is just a little bit more well-rounded. They have a top 30 defense, almost top 40 offense. Illinois, outside of the top 70 in defense, does concern me. And I think Nebraska can keep up with Illinois' high-paced, high-tempo offense. I think Nebraska goes out there and wins this one. I believe they've beaten Illinois already. I'll go ahead and take Nebraska to get to the Big Ten championship game, but ultimately the guard play for Purdue, along with, Zach Edey being the best player in the country, it's got to be Purdue here. And I tried to convince myself otherwise. This is similar to the Big East with UConn. It's got to be Purdue. And I thought it would be similar for Houston in the Big 12, because they're the other one of these top 3 teams that are just in a league of their own this year. But Houston I did see some matchup troubles with BYU in the semifinals. But yeah, similar to UConn, I just can't see a team beating them. I'll go ahead and take Purdue to win the Big Ten. I picked them last year to win the Big Ten. They didn't disappoint me. I still do question how legit they can be in the tournament. It all depends on matchup for them. But their guard play is just so much better this year, and that was their weakness last year. They were still a 1 seed, and they still won the Big Ten. They're just so much better from last year, and I don't know. It's got to be Purdue. I tried to convince myself Nebraska, have a little bit of fun. Illinois could do it. Nebraska could do it. Michigan State, dark horse, could do it. Watch out for Ohio State, Indiana, Iowa. I think those 3 could be potential sleeper teams. And then Wisconsin, they could do it, but I'm not the biggest Wisconsin guy. So yeah, I got Purdue winning the Big Ten. But let me know in the comments what you guys are picking in this one. So yeah, that's going to do it for the Big Ten Conference Tournament predictions. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you go down there, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn on the noties to make sure you don't miss out when we post any of our videos. If you include this one, 28 conference tournament prediction videos on the channel. We got 4 more to do. We're doing 1 more tonight and then the last 3 tomorrow. So you guys can look forward to that. And then March Madness content will be, you know, this is the best place to be on YouTube for March Madness content. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave a like if you did. I'll see you guys in a little bit with the SEC Conference Tournament predictions.